Yeah. So, but all of this has to go back to my original point, which is, in the days of Carl Sagan and Crick, the study portion, you had to study and learn so much and prove yourself before you specialized, which maybe gave more thought to consequence of action, or maybe
Well,
gave
I
more
personally
thought to
think we're minting PhDs in a way that is not sustainable. Australia, I believe, out of all Western nations, mints more PhDs than any other country as a ratio of their educational institutions to PhD output. And there's a lot of PhDs now that don't have access to jobs, and they're in jobs that have nothing to do with their formal discipline. So, I mean, with the onset of AI, I really actually don't know where this piece is going to go. I'm hoping that we can use AI to do things like you just brought up at the beginning, if you want to circle back around, and that is finding things like kimchi-derived probiotic strains that happen to have affinity for nanoplastics that can help us manage that. That would be wonderful use of technology.
I think they are actually, because I mean, I know for a fact there are food companies and there are supplement companies using AI to
Mm.
identify specific species.
Absolutely.
For
And to do in silico modeling of metabolite production and metabolite affinity for certain
Right.
things and the genomic profile of a bacteria, what's it likely to be able to produce. Do you
Even
have
looking at
experience with that, Blake?
botanical actives. What's that?
Well, I was just wondering if Blake had experience with that because you kind of are a consultant in industry. Like, what are you seeing on your side of things where that technology is kind of helping to make things better?
Yeah, absolutely. And I use AI on a regular basis, not only to educate myself faster, but also to figure out, to fill in a lot of gaps that I wouldn't have thought of. So when
Right.
creating an argument, well, it usually has a lot of what I already know, but then it points out some things I didn't. But technology is always a double-edged sword. There's never just a good or a bad. And to me, the bad is this, overconfidence that people have when they use it. And so what I'm faced with, a lot of clients, they send me, a scope of work that's AI generated. And then now I have to argue with them that their scope of work isn't good, but they have this overconfidence that yes, AI told it to me. And so we do have kind of this misuse, and the science fiction authors and the Tofflers and the Star Trek, like they were all warning us about, all these, kind of downsides of technology, and we're seeing it really accelerated now. But yeah, there is such a benefit to, even somebody with our type of expertise to, to make our rationale and our arguments and our work better. And that's a huge opportunity, but surely it can be, misused as well. And
Well, and also again, AI is a tool. There's no moral compass, and it only has enough information based on the data we know. It doesn't have information beyond that. It can search using multiple sources of data to find something that we miss from a comprehensive view, but it's not going to necessarily invent something on its own. It needs commands. It's not going to think about the wrong or right. If you tell AI to create a destructive device, it's not going to think about how destructive the device is. So that's where the pitfalls are, in my opinion. Like,
Well,
even
if
AI
you think
formula.
about it would know, I think it would know, potentially be able to extrapolate the magnitude of destruction, but what you're asking is a moral question, not a technical question, right?
Well,
The
it is
technicality of the blast radius could be well known. The
right.
morality of deploying it is the problem. There's no moral compass. The moral compass that AI has is ours
Right.
because we
And that,
trained
yeah,
it on everything we've done. And look at our track record in history. We're brutal. Also beautiful, but brutal.
right.
to me, the questions around AI mimic those around science itself, in that the output is only as good as the questions you're asking
Right.
it. And so
It's
you can
still
ask it,
talking.
an
100%,
immoral
Blake.
question, and it'll give you
Yeah.
an immoral answer.
Right.
Yeah.
It is data and input driven. And so this is where I say it's an advanced form of your database systems and data extraction systems from years ago. It's just that we can actually train it to learn a little bit better, so we can shortcut more, but it's not itself an entity. I mean, the hallucinations that it has that people talk about are because of bad data that came in somewhere, so it couldn't make the logic links from too much bad data, right? Or extract missing linked logic and then put it together in its own way, the only way it's been trained to know or coded to know. So we have those problems with AI, and I think a responsible person with the right background can get a lot out of it. I know I can too. Where I have problems is when, I've met companies in the past who wanted to get me to support them because, they invent an AI-driven food formulation system, right? It's going to do everything on its own, and they want to pitch it to the big companies so that they can get rid of all their food formulators. And I said, okay, but AI can't taste. And until you get every known item that humans can consume as food in there, apart from regulatory, so that it understands what it's supposed to look for, how are you going to tell it to formulate anything and everything from a marketing standpoint or from somebody who can't cook? You can't tell it what to do.
And to add to that point too, I have a bunch of books that come from, food science, and I know for a fact that when I ask AI certain questions, it's not looking at those books and understanding those books of really what the complexity is around whether it's food science or supplement or natural products or whatever. And so I think again, it's this overconfidence that AI has access to all the information in the world and it's using it. Well, that's not the case. There's this balance of it wants to give you a fast answer, and these things are developed by people who try to develop a business. So they're not saying, "Hey, go and look at all my books and then give me the answer," because it might not even have access to all the books or all the knowledge
No, there's plenty of
that are on my
firewalls
shelf.
out there.
Yeah, that's right. Publish, all the stuff on PubMed that's behind a paywall. Well, it's just reading the abstract, which is,
Exactly.
is basically like a sales pitch, but, doesn't have access to the methods,